Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Lefty.
Hey, Lefty, what you say?
Welcome in, Notre Dame fans. This is your preview show as the Notre Dame Fighting Irish welcome in the North Carolina Tar Heels to Notre Dame Stadium. It's going to be litty once again, under the lights, prime time, as we always say right here on the Lucky Lefty podcast on our network. That's how we talk about it.
That's right. That's what it is.
Welcome to the Lucky Lefty podcast. I am Shaun Davis at SD2 Mics. My man, the myth, the legend, the original Lucky Lefty himself, that guy over there, Malik Zaire at Overtime Malik. As always, we feature Onora Whiskey. You see it right there behind him. OnoraWhiskey.com. Premium American whiskey. Real smooth, like the Lucky Lefties podcast. Real smooth. That's why we spin it different.
That's right.
We have this preview show, a special guest, Jordan Cornett. Most Notre Dame fans know him from the hard court or the hardwood. He's going to be joining us. He is the studio host on the ACC Network for college football each and every week. So he's going to help us preview the ACC for this weekend and the matchup of Notre Dame and North Carolina. And get into some other tidbits about you two Ohio guys that ended up at Notre Dame. But let's start off with what Brian Kelly talked about, the overall health of his team, offensive lines getting healthy. We did see a tweet from Blake Fisher saying that he's close to returning. That should add depth to the offensive line. And depending upon whether or not they remove Kane Madden from the offensive line and insert Blake Fisher, most would say that would improve the production along the offensive line. Of course, we're going to be without the All-American safety. Notre Dame will be without their All-American safety, Kyle Hamilton. Still
dearly missed.
Missed. Absolutely. That right knee is still going to bother him. It's not thought of as a long-term injury, so more than likely you'll see him back next week. But they'll be without him this week. Ironically, they faced him for a half without – they faced North Carolina at North Carolina last year without Kyle Hamilton. It was actually Houston Griffith that came in and DJ Brown the second half, and they played quite well to spell Kyle Hamilton, who had left the game because of a targeting penalty. So, once again, Notre Dame is facing a defense who really doesn't do a lot, doesn't rush the passer, doesn't push back with the rush defense, but they do have names. Voracek up front, Gimmel at the linebacker position. They have names. They have athletes. That's one thing Mac Brown has done his second time around at North Carolina is littered the roster with athletes or increase the number of athletes or better athletes on the roster. So if you give him 2 or 3 more years, they might be atop the ACC conference and challenge for an ACC conference championship. But as of now, offensively, they haven't gotten off to the offensive start that you thought they would. After 3 straight games of over 300 yards, the last 2 games, Sam Howell was only thrown for 250 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception in each contest. So the offense has been up and down all year. Once you lose 4,000 yards to the NFL, Malik, I mean, I don't know what else people expect when you lose that type of production. And a 4-3 record, definitely below the expectations they had. But even Mac Brown said he knew in fall practice that they were not a top 10 team as some people had ranked them before the season.
Yeah, and I think it's just something that dissolves throughout what preseason hype gives in the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
They talked earlier about these are the teams that are expected because of what they see on paper. But every week is challenging, especially when film begins to build up on you. This is year 3 for Sam Howell, so there's a lot of film where defensive coordinators really get into a bag of which makes the job a little harder each year you stay in college. The great ones like Trevor Lawrence, I know that we say that a lot because he's the most recent, but guys of that nature that's winning 33, even Ian Book, winning 30 games at Notre Dame, that's not an easy thing to do. And so all that tape that's on them for him to still be able to do that, got to give a lot of credit towards that. But going back to Sam Howell, I do think expectations grew this year, and with losing 4,000 yards on your rushing game, it's a lot more on you. So, this is a good opportunity for him and us. One, for him to establish why they got him as a top pick for this season's draft. And then for us to be able to shut down another quarterback. We did a great job last week with a quarterback that had a lot of hype around getting drafted pretty high. So it's going to build our track record and confidence. And at this point, we played a little bit all around the country. So we got a flavor for college football, and we're starting to lock in and hone in on what we do best.
4-point favorites. Notre Dame will be on Saturday night, over under sitting at about 60.5. Vegas had me vexed a little bit. I didn't understand why it was only a 4-point spread. I think Notre Dame is definitely at least a touchdown better than North Carolina. And you add that they're going to be at home, that should throw another 2 to 3 points on the spread. So basically, by Notre Dame being at home, it's almost like you're saying it's a pick 'em on a neutral field, which is very odd and very strange. But that's just a little tidbit for all you bettors out there. I'm willing to say that once again, Marcus Freeman is going to find a way to limit another offensive juggernaut or another dangerous offensive team to a season low in points.
Yeah, I mean, think about the offenses that we faced so far. We had a run and shoot type of Toledo offense. We had a Wisconsin offense. We went against a Florida State offense. Now we're going against a USC offense is different than our top quarterback offense and Sam Howell. So Marcus Freeman has had his hands full all season.
Yeah,
I think that's what's made it so good for him is that this is nothing new, and that he's been able to have successful game plans against great players and or offenses, and especially a heavy run or a heavy pass. So this is a good chance for him to flex his muscles and show why his game planning has been elite enough for us to hold some of these teams back the way they haven't been before.
Everything we talked about with the running game and how important it was to Sam Howell last year, not just size and stature, but his game overall, has a little Baker Mayfield to him. Like, he's not really the guy that can carry you. He's a good quarterback, but if you take away that running game and the play action, he's not the type of guy that's to drop back 40 times and just beat you and slice you up. He will make mistakes if you can put some pressure on him, especially. And definitely, it's going to be interesting because Drake London was a totally different beast, right?
Yeah.
And he forced the hand of Marcus Freeman to say, you know what? I'm not even going to go into my bag.
We can't let players like Sam Howell get momentum. So we can't let him scramble and make a great play and then throw a bomb the next play, or get a good run and then throw a bomb the play after that. So if we can get him playing behind the sticks, get a sack early, get his 2nd and 12, and get him to play a little more hero ball, that's better chances for us to be able to get some turnovers, and then we can frustrate him from there on out. I do, however, think it'll be a good competition and a good first half, but I know we'll pour it on second half. That's just kind of how we're built.
Do you think about the fact that North Carolina has the plan that USC tried to implement in the second half, which is more of balance and taking advantage of a 3-man front with the run game? Do you think Mac Brown is looking at that and saying, you know what, maybe we should do this early on?
Yeah, I think that's obviously something is tempting. You see 3 people with their hand in the dirt. I want to run too, so
right.
Marcus Freeman knows that as well, and that's why he's been able to use those linebackers to kind of fill those missing gaps and lanes. And that's the challenge that we have with Cincinnati. They knew that 3-man front, they faced that a lot with their conference, so they had much better of a game plan. But for us, I really do think that we're taking the steps and challenging ourselves each week to prove to be better. So I do think Sam Howell's going to have a good first half, but I think the second half is where we're really going to make our money.
Well, Jack Cohn has proven to be and probably solidified himself as the starter for the rest of the season. Brian Kelly has been adamant all season about the guy they see in practice. Best game of the year last week against USC. Best game on the ground for Kyron Williams. Will we see the same type of balance when they face off against North Carolina? Tommy Rees will get you your clean sheet in a moment. But Tommy Rees probably looks at that game and probably looks at this North Carolina defense on film and says, you know what? There's a lot of other tricks in the bag that I have. Should he stick to the meat and potatoes, or should he keep pulling out the tricks in the bag like the jet sweeps and the reverses?
I do think we have the ability with this team to force our hand with Kyron Williams and continue him to gain momentum throughout the season. And we're just going to run the ball and prove that it doesn't matter. I think that's going to open up, Michael Mayer to have a big game and Avery Davis to come back into the fold. And it'll be easier for Jack Cohn to operate when we're establishing the run first with Kyron. I don't think we need too many tricks. I do think we need more execution and get our superstars to football in this game.
Kevin Austin definitely will be looking for a comeback game after the disappointment or the ineffectiveness, but the up and down game. He had some bright spots in the game, but he also had a drop ball early on that first drive that would have been a walk-in touchdown. And then the controversial play that even referees have tweeted out during the week that it should have been reversed. It should have gone to the booth to be reviewed and reversed because he had possession of the ball before he fell to the ground, struggling with Chris Steele. With all of that being said, are you more excited to see what Kevin Austin can do? Are you excited to see what Lorenzo Styles Jr. and Deion Cozy can add on to what they did last week?
Yeah, you definitely want to see younger guys make more splash plays, considering that they're fresh, and then they're running harder than the guys starting every week. So they're gonna
That's a good point. Yeah,
they're gonna come on the scene, giving us that real change of pace that you want to see as offense. Those guys are a little hungrier, but I do want to see Kevin Austin, be the established dominant number one we need. When it gets into later in the season, Lorenzo Styles may not be as helpful as Kevin Austin needs to be for the team. So let's get him his givings, and then we'll work on everybody else.
I mean, from your experience, what's the mindset knowing, because the most dreadful week, especially for the guys in the trenches, has to be knowing that Navy is coming up on Saturday.
Oh, man.
I don't care what their record is. Like, when you know Navy is next, you kind of feel like, yo, you can play with your hair on fire the game before. Because you're like, yo, this is the last time we get to really play our style up-tempo and do our thing, because we know Navy's going to come in and slow the game down.
Yeah, so we saw Navy struggle, have Cincinnati struggle with them last week. And so I think it'll be the same for us. I think the way that we run our defense in that three-man front, we'll have to change a lot of things around. But it's a challenge every week because, like you said, man, you're so amped to play the week before because this is a chance to really, feel good about where y'all headed, because next week's a totally different week. It's like you start from square one, and it's a game about being physical the entire time and finding ways to stay warm and make explosive plays while you're waiting on the sideline.
So once again,
we are 10-0, 0-10, 0-5. It's going to be a hard fall game.
Notre Dame fans, I can only imagine what it's like that week leading up to Navy. Like that Sunday night after, that Sunday night you guys have won the week before, and you're sitting there, you're recouping, and everybody's either chilling, playing video games, eating, just relaxing. You have Monday off a little bit to recoup before you get back to things on Tuesday. And that Tuesday practice is like,
yeah, even practice is boring, preparing for these plays that you're about to go against. And even for offense, you got to call a different style of game because you don't want to just score too fast, but you do want to get up a couple scores so you can help your defense out. But, man, a week that it requires attention to detail, and it will test our discipline as well, which is something that we need at this point in the season, coming off of a bye.
Yeah,
about to hit the back end of the schedule, and this is where we got to really lock in and focus if we want to slip into those playoffs.
We might have to use the Buster Rhymes style of defense as well this week. Get our hands up, put our hands where Sam Howell won't be able to see. He's short, and once again, It's not so much about the sacks as it will be about the pressure and getting him off of his spot.
Yeah, if you get him off his spot, well, actually, no, I think we should do something similar like a mush rush. Because if we let him slip through underneath these defensive ends running too far upfield, that's where he plays his best game at. So we don't want to make this a backyard, recess football.
Yeah. Foskey is licking his chops.
It had some chances.
Multi-sacks against USC.
It had some chances for sure.
And I need him to hit his brakes, though. Just hit the brakes a little bit. You telling the media down in South Bend that you're going to be, putting your name in the draft to see what feedback you can get. Like, bro, I could tell you the feedback you're going to get. So, take it easy.
Yeah, podcast can tell you what the feedback I'm getting.
Take it easy. Come back next year. Build yourself up to a first-round pick. That's the feedback you're going to get. You know what I mean? Because right now, you're good. But, I think for the most part, very productive, very pleased with how he's progressed, but still sort of raw. When it comes
he kind of plays like he's still trying to figure out his body.
Yeah.
But he's exposed. But when he does, and he flashes, you're like, oh, yeah, I can see the talent. I can see where it's going. There's nothing wrong with coming back to refine that and then build on it. I think a perfect example of him, of a type like that, is Khalid Kareem.
Yeah.
Khalid. A great talented player, obviously developed the right way in a 4-year program. And he was ready to play when his chance got called at the next level. He's doing great for the Bengals. So I think that's a good example of how you can develop under the program as a D-line. Elson does a great job. And it keeps the momentum of recruiting going, where you can see a good develop like that. Dalen is another one.
Yeah.
Ade. Ogundeji, I mean, he was super raw.
Yeah.
Super raw because he was there when I was about to leave. So to see him playing with Atlanta right now, I'm like, oh my goodness, they really done turned him into a whole, threat on defense. So
yeah.
Nothing wrong with coming back as a defense end.
Nothing like that weight room, baby. Weight room training table.
That's it.
It's a wicked combination. It's the Lucky Lefty podcast. Shaun Davis, Malik, Zaire. This is the preview show for North Carolina. Hey, when we return, we'll have a special guest, none other than the ACC Network's own Jordan Cornett. Previews the weekend in college football, talks a little bit of NFL with these two Ohio cats, and we'll get into the matchup, Notre Dame and UNC, right here on the preview show. UNC Lucky Lefty podcast. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Lucky Lefty podcast with Malik Zaire.
Never will there ever be another like me. You can play the left because it ain't no right in me.
And Shaun Davis.
All right, welcome back to the Lucky Lefty podcast. And we go out to the right coast. That's right, the East Coast. Man, good brother of mine. I'm a Chicago kid stuck in between two Ohio dudes right now. So we'll see how this goes. Two Ohio Notre Dame dudes at that, from ESPN and also the ACC Network College Football Studio Show. The host, the one and only Jordan Cornett, joins me right here, myself and Malik Zaire, on the Lucky Lefty podcast. My brother, first of all, how's everything going, man? With you being a Midwest guy, now you're strictly on the East Coast. How's that going for you and the family?
Hey, Shaun and Malik, I'll tell you, man, it's good to be on with you guys. It's another big week for Notre Dame football, another big week in college football, and there's been so much chaos. But, Shaun, to answer your question, man, it's been different. Like everybody, I think, since 2020, everybody's made some sort of adjustment. Our life change just happened to come legitimately right before the world stopped. So we made this move out to the East Coast. We're in Fairfield, Connecticut, just outside of New York City, halfway between New York, halfway between Bristol, where ESPN's headquarters are. Moved here legitimately 2 weeks before this virus COVID thing came up. Wow. And we got in our house out here. So as the world changed, we figured out our new normal in a lot of ways.
Wow, especially getting a chance to create your own bat cave, man, in a good time like that. It sounds like things happen right on schedule.
Malik, let me tell you, we got the new house, which was a blessing to obviously close on that before the world went completely wild. We got a golden retriever who we found out we were getting the day Kobe Bryant passed away. Wow. Named her Kobe after the great. And then we had a baby. So I think we checked like a lot of different boxes as we kind of went along. So it worked out perfectly.
You really moved forward.
Yeah.
So, of course, as you said, a big weekend in college football. Before you get to that, man, kudos to you and your better half.
Yeah, congratulations.
Shea Pepler, Cornette. Both of y'all are killing it. And you guys carried me through Sundays because I'm usually at the studio cutting up plays and getting ready for the post game for the Bears. And I have you and Shaun in the background.
Yeah.
Giving me all the information for the NFL. You guys take me through what is really – it's hard. It's hard to cover
it absolutely is, Shaun, but it's also easy. Like you guys get this, Shaun, on a producing side, and now obviously being in front of it for the Lucky Lefty podcast alongside QB1 here. But you guys know, like, when you have a teammate you trust, that you know what's going to come out of their mouth, that they know what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah.
Like the ability to work off each other really allows us, I feel like, to put our best foot forward. And we don't have to do the Zoom meetings. I can be rolled up naked in bed with the woman I love talking about what our show is going to be the next day. You can't get away with that unless you want a lawsuit.
So,
those kind of luxuries do make it workable, but it's 24/7. We're round the clock, but it's a blessing to be doing what we're doing.
But you got to talk about, too, how important it is to have that chemistry when you're doing, different things with the network and on TV and doing different podcasts. Explain how that relationship really impacts how it makes the difference. It makes the difference in speaking and being able to get your thoughts out.
Yeah, well, Malik, the one thing, and I don't know your situation relationship-wise, but Shaun, I know you're a family guy, and like it can be real, those things that happen with your significant other, your spouse, the back and forth, the conversations, and in that it gets raw, it gets real, and I think it's relatable to people because they're like, whether it's the woman who's the sports fan and a husband's kind of a sports fan, or vice versa, or both are. Everybody knows what spats and debates are, and not seeing eye to eye on stuff. So I think a lot of people tune in and lean into the drama. I had Shay's aunt and uncle, who are really close to last week, go, another great show. But her aunt said, I wish you guys would fight just a little bit more. I was like, stay tuned. Next week, I'm sure we'll deliver it. So I think it's a little bit of something for everybody. The sports fan, the person in a relationship, the person that likes the uniqueness of what we present. I think all those things coming to an intersection have a lot of interest at that intersection.
All right. The big elephant in the room, you're on the Lucky Lefty podcast. We're about Notre Dame football, so let's get at it. By the way, people, this is the all-time blocks leader in Notre Dame basketball history now. So, what I'm saying? Got to give you your flowers before we switch over to the football.
There's a very small arrangement of those flowers, so I appreciate them being delivered, man. That's a niche.
No doubt. Have to let the people know who you are and who we're talking to. So these two teams, Notre Dame once again facing an ACC team, coming off a bye week to prepare for them. And Sam Howell, I think going back to that Virginia Tech game, it's safe to say losing 4,000 yards, over 4,000 yards of offense to the NFL at the running back and wide receiver position kind of put him behind the 8 ball, working with youngsters, and had to, kind of reestablish a new continuity with his skill position guys. So how dangerous is North Carolina coming into this game from an offensive standpoint? We know they like the big plays, but how dangerous is this team? Have they progressed over the season, now being 4-3? And when they walk into Notre Dame Stadium, just how dangerous will they be for this Notre Dame defense?
They're dangerous because when they put it all together, coupled with a run game, which has been lacking, like you mentioned, those 2 pros in the backfield, more important than any of the 4 pros that they lost. It starts with that backfield. Those are 2,000-yard rushers. Those are 2 guys that really set the tone to allow the play action to sing, to take the vertical shots, to allow those go routes to come alive, all those different things. So if they can get a semblance of a run game, they become infinitely more dynamic. They haven't really had that. It's been pretty anemic for this group. That being said, watching Notre Dame's secondary these last few weeks, and I know everyone's talking about how Notre Dame's been getting better. Secondary is still porous, still vulnerable. It's given up about 250 yards in each of the last 2 games, albeit in winning efforts. Sam Howell with a run game and guys like Josh Downs who can expose our secondary could make for a 350, 400-yard day. That's the only way that North Carolina can beat Notre Dame, is if Sam Howell puts on one of those performances that he's been able to put on in his few seasons there in Chapel Hill. This is on a road. It's a first real road test for this group in North Carolina, or maybe their second, you could argue. So there's the immaturity of this group that may not answer the call. But to me, it's the ability to get to Sam Howell, much like we did last year. Applying that pressure, it's when he's turnover prone, a place where the Irish really make their money this year a little bit too with takeaways. But just having a consistent pass rush can truly be the difference. And like I said, limiting the Tar Heels run game.
I agree. I also point to the fact that Sam Howell, being the recruit that he is for the NFL, these are the type of games he's expected to have those type of numbers. So I think a lot of what changes when you lose such a big portion of your offense last year, the expectations is what changes for Sam Howell, which, now you're all eyes on you. And so those are the moments where, we can use that in terms of helping us ourselves by playing top down. Yeah. I think our biggest question too, and that North Carolina sees, I feel like the same way, is that how are we going to tackle in space with a secondary that is porous? Our tackling has always been an issue in the secondary. So how they're going to be able to get a lot of bubbles out, they probably know we're going to get some pressure on Sam. If we can tackle well in that secondary and those guys can step up as well as play them and win those one-on-one matchups, I feel it'll make it a lot tougher for Sam to be able to operate. The run game, we've had opportunities in the season to step up to the plate and shut it down, even if we've been able to give up some big runs. So I think the run game will have a good opportunity to stop, but it's that tackling in open spaces where I think we can make our money this week.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, Malik. And so the only pause I have as we talk about that, damn, it'd be nice to have Kyle Hamilton in like, isn't that wild? Like when you're calling for something where it's like, cool, we got one of the top 5 talents in the draft coming up. But wait, he's out injured. So it makes it even more of a challenge for Notre Dame, given that. But that name is not a household name yet because the ACC's been down, and most especially because UNC's underachieved. But Josh Downs, he's got a motor. He's a burner in space. So as Malik, you called for somebody to be able to tackle in space, a place where we struggle, that challenge gets elevated with a guy like that because he could get to the end zone a couple of times in a game like this. And if he does, obviously it's problematic for the Irish.
Yeah, you talk about that. How much do you think Notre Dame is going to pull on that experience when they lost Kyle halfway through the game down there because of targeting at North Carolina last year with guys like DJ Brown and Houston Griffith? How can they pull from that and say, you know what, we faced this team and this quarterback without our best guy last year. We have to do it again. This time we have to do it for 4 quarters, though.
Yeah, like to me, and I won't name a university so as not to take a knock, but we're Notre Dame, man. Like, you got to be too deep. Yeah, like, you're not bringing some bum off the sidelines. Like, boys can go. They're blue chippers. So, to me, it's an exciting opportunity for what the future holds because, Kyle ain't going to be in a uniform for the Irish next year. He's about to get the bag.
Yeah, he's not about to beat it anyway.
Yeah, so, like, now it's like, okay, how have we recruited? Who's lined up there? Because who I buy stock in all day, every day is Marcus Freeman. So I know he'll have the proper scheme set up. But I do look towards the blueprint from a year ago and just say, okay, no Kyle. The bubbles may be coming, but we should still try to take away that run game so those bubbles are so predictable. Like, good luck. We're sitting on them. And apply that pass rush. Because let me tell you, UNC up front, them boys are not tough in the trenches on either side. They don't have a consistent pass rush defensively, and they have not been able to keep Sam Howell upright. Now, some would argue Sam's also held onto the football a little bit too long, trying to be a hero, neglecting to make the check down, the easy play, or to throw it out of bounds, but to hold it and be the hero. Can't play hero ball against Notre Dame, not with how aggressive this group will be defensively.
Now, you made a really good point talking about the trenches. Now, in the ACC, you see that it can be ebbs and flows of the strength of the offensive line. Can you explain to the audience why I always say we're too consistent in the trenches to not be a top ACC contender every year, which is why I don't think that us being in the ACC will give us any more benefit than what we're doing now?
Well, yeah, and you know, Malik, they pay some of my bills, so I'm not gonna be too real. I'm not gonna be too real because I gotta keep these lights on. My wife likes lights, so I can't keep it all the way authentic. But yeah, if you're gonna be real about it, it's been down. It's been down this year. Clemson's had to, for the last few years, really carry the torch. In a lot of ways, it's been disappointing because Miami was supposed to be back this year. Derek King, who's one of my favorite student athletes I've covered, never was able to stay healthy this year, so he couldn't really see who he was. And Miami was down. Carolina down. Clemson down. So in it, we've seen the surge of Pitt have a chance still here as a one-loss team.
Yeah.
A Western Michigan loss is a real tough one, especially when you give up 44 at home. It's a tough pill to swallow for them, but it's still only one loss. And
those MAC teams are good now. Let's not. MAC teams got talent,
right? And we saw it in that game. And then the Demon Deacons are undefeated, and you got Wake Forest. So it has provided some unique storylines. But to go back to what you're saying, Malik, absolutely, Notre Dame's consistently in the picture every year because they're so fundamentally sound up front. You're going to be able to run the football. They're going to protect their quarterback. They're going to be getting after the quarterback. They're going to be stout against the run. Now, the vulnerability this year, that offensive line has had to grow into it. Since Virginia Tech, I think the last few games, they've been their best. Last week, they were their best.
They were their best.
We heard it. We ain't heard in a minute. Then Kyron Williams entered the chat, the most talented player arguably on a roster along with Kyle. So I'm most curious to see what Kyron does coming off of that momentum from last week because, damn, it was good to watch him go against the Trojans of all teams.
That's right.
It's crazy because Malik has been leading the charge, telling Notre Dame fans all year, calm down. Stop acting like spoiled brats. You're so used to having this dominant offensive line. Like, let this line get in themselves, let them get cohesion, and late in the season, you'll see them get better, especially when they bring somebody like Blake Fisher back, who tweeted out this week he's very close to returning. You talked about the last two games and last week against USC being their best game. Do you see that trend continuing when they face the Tar Heels on Saturday night?
Yeah, because I think they know the challenge that's in front of them. And I think it's always really interesting to watch these teams that are one-loss teams. It's something about their focus getting more tight. They're more locked in because the margin for error is wiped away. And I think teams feel like, okay, we're playing with a little bit of house money when we're undefeated. It could be mental lapses. Notre Dame already had theirs. The Bearcats came in there and they were the dog and we were the hydrant. And so now you got to adjust and kind of play your game. So I think week to week, the Irish are focused. I don't think they were all the way sharp last week, but it was one of their better all-around games. Again, I call for the secondary to be a little bit better. But the places of concern aside from that offensive line getting better, the commitment to the run game, the foundations to Notre Dame's success, we saw those. And what we've seen from Coach Kelly teams throughout his tenure, they beat who they're supposed to beat.
They beat who they're supposed to beat.
No reason not to believe they're going to take care of business. They weren't supposed to beat Cincinnati. And you know what happened?
Yeah.
They didn't beat Cincinnati. So, you know what I mean? Like, they're favored here. They should be. And I expect them to come in there business-like at the crib and take care of business.
How are people really viewing Mac Brown the second time around in North Carolina?
I mean, look, he's turned water into wine by coming back. Like, take away what the record is, what this year's been. You know, an incredible year the other year. Recruiting is at an all-time high. There's a buzz there at what is known to be a basketball school, but don't sleep on the level of interest with football. And Malik, I don't know if they were a school that recruited you, but yeah, that's a school that's committed to football too. They
are committed to football. It's just you have to be there and be like, oh wow, they really are. And, you know, this is a real thing over
here. Yeah. So I mean, look, Mac's a legend. The guy's won a chip. The guy's done it as an analyst and has really shined. So he knows how to establish, foster those relationships, media, to coach, to program, and use that as a pipeline to build up your program. He's a mastermind. So all those things, but you still got to say, if anybody struggled this year with, you know, what's in front of them, you could look at Mac Brown and put him at the top of the list of a group that's underachieved, and he'd say that. But you know what Mac Brown would also say, and we hear this from a lot of people, whether good or bad, for their benefit or their demise. You hear coaches say, these preseason polls are a joke. We never should have been a top 10 team. Mac Brown said he knew we weren't a top 10 team preseason, but the number was there. And so these performances were based off a preconceived notion that should have never been. But I'll agree with that. But come on, man, you still shouldn't have the record you have. You still shouldn't be losing some of the games that you have. And he would agree with that.
Now, what is the difference, though? Because you speak about Coach Kelly's tenure, which is, his best thing is consistency on beating teams he's supposed to. But would you say it's a recruiting thing that keeps that consistency, or what is the secret sauce that teams fall on that consistent level of like a Clemson? Clemson was hot, and now just all of a sudden they jumped off a cliff. Because we have this talk all the time about difference makers. I always say it's the quarterback that can really change it, but Coach Kelly has found something outside of it just being a Trevor Lawrence type of quarterback every year.
Yeah, so to me, it's simple. It's identity. Like in the sports that I cover, college basketball, college football, the league, and the association, those four, give me teams that have an identity. When you play Syracuse in basketball, you can get the matchup zone. When you play Kansas, they're going to run and gun in hoops. When you play Notre Dame, they're going to be fundamentally sound. They're going to pound the football. They're going to control time of clock, and they're going to get sound, competent quarterback play, and they're going to be tough defensively. When you look at Clemson and where the fall-offs come is, they've always had a quarterback that's been a beast. That has been the issue, and I hate Malik to put it on a quarterback. That's what you got to do down there at Clemson. DJ Uiagalelei, I've never been more off on a prediction of a guy in my life, I feel like. But
really,
there's something to learn there, though, too. A young man balled in 2 games last year, came into Notre Dame in that losing effort, and balled. Had another great game. I can't remember the game is failing me. Had 2 starts, was incredible. And everybody wanted to name him the Heisman before he'd been a starter. It's real easy to come in and fix a situation when there's no film on you and the expectations are low. It's entirely different to replace one of the greatest college football players in recent memory, in Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, made it look easy.
In his backfield was maybe an even more talented guy in Travis Etienne. So when you see those 2 legends, 2 of the best ever played there alongside Deshaun Watson go, you get a little spooked and prom night nerves come out a little bit. And we saw that. So the identity there has been consistency at the quarterback position and offensively, and also health. And those things have gone awry with Clemson, but I'm not with the Paul Feinbaums of the world getting up there saying Clemson's done. They caught lightning in a bottle. That dynasty's finished. That's bogus. This is just a down year for them. They got a top quarterback recruit coming in next year that's going to push DJ to be the guy or be out, and they'll be more healthy.
That's the sad part about Clemson. You either the guy they saw Kelly Bryant. Kelly Bryant was like, "Oh man, this is crazy."
Mizzou, you need a okay, cool. I'm out. Like, that's how it goes, but that's how it should go. It's competition, and you only get one chance to shine. So Spencer Rattler, I don't know why you're still in Norman. Like, go somewhere and ball, bro. You got it. It's just Caleb's got it a little bit more. He got the juice.
Caleb got the juice right now, man.
Yeah.
When you get the team, that's the difference too. He got the whole team on him.
Yeah. So identity is my answer for sure, Malik. It's about having recruit to what you know. Like Notre Dame's always going to have some pros on the offensive line. Notre Dame's always going to go get a couple D-line guys that are going to be playing in the league for 10 years, a linebacker or 2 as well, some guys in the secondary, and a quarterback who's going to be a good locker room presence in the league on some franchise. So, like, those things have worked to keep us watching going into November with dreams of winning a national championship. And look, we're not Alabama. We're not Georgia. Hope we can get there. But we're one of 4 or 5 teams that get to watch in November and feel like we got a shot still. I'll take that any day of the week.
So is it as simple as getting a Trevor Lawrence to Notre Dame? Like, we're sitting here talking.
Yep.
As simple as Brian Kelly being able to attract one of those guys at the quarterback position to get Notre Dame over the hump.
Yeah, I wish it was that simple to find a Trevor Lawrence out there. I mean,
just pop up.
I don't know if they're growing on trees out there, but if they are, show me where that plot of land is. Let's go pluck one. But I mean, Malik can tell you, man, like it's a hard position. Like Malik had some great games. There's moments where you struggle. Ultimately, you're a great talent. You know what I'm saying? And there's people at Malik's cut. There's people below Malik. There's people above him. It's about finding who the guy is, and finding it consistently. And that's a challenge. I don't think me and you, Shaun, can have an appreciation for just how difficult that position is. As a guy I've become really close with, E.J. Manuel, played at Florida State.
Oh, man.
Was a beast.
Yeah.
Beast. Got drafted first round, went 19th to the Buffalo Bills, and never really made it in the league. And there's politics behind it that people truly don't know.
Right.
But the color of his skin did not help that man playing in the league. And he'll be the first one to tell you, and the stories that I've heard firsthand from him, I understand how that happened and why people don't really know what he could have been as a pro. But going back to it, he would talk to me about just how demanding the position is, Shaun, some shit we could never know that Malik knows very well.
Right.
Play into it. Like, you can watch somebody throw a football. You can watch them be great in high school. But there's so much that goes into it in college. And on top of that, playbook, demands, everything's on you. You're under the microscope. Your coordinator, you better be in tow with. They better be putting you in position to succeed.
Right.
Talent around you, protection, play calling, scheme. All these things play into, is this guy going to be great, or is he just talented and won't figure it out? And it's a fine line, and I got educated on that these last few years.
Yeah, you made a very good point, and it kind of just shows within the league. And even, if you're not a top 5 talent, Deshaun Watson or, your Lamar Jacksons of the world, the other side of that is so far like you would never know,
Yeah,
so
never.
if you're not a top 5 quarterback that looks like those guys or Patrick Mahomes, there's not a lot of Geno Smiths out there, because even with Geno's situations, like eBay situation, just bad fits. And I think that just fits into where it comes all together with even Notre Dame is about fit. And I don't think the fit of a superstar, talented, generational talented quarterback fits into that type of system. I just don't think it's conducive to it, because it either one way or the other. Like, for instance, Clemson, the quarterback is everything. If you ain't got the everything quarterback, it just doesn't look the same, right? For us, a superstar talented quarterback, I don't think will fit into the long run of what Notre Dame could be to be the ultimate beast. I think the quarterback could be the difference in a Georgia and a Notre Dame. It's the same as Oklahoma's difference is the defense. So not the quarterback, but the defense is the problem.
Yeah.
We don't, I'm not going to say we don't have them, but we should be having Bryce Young on the rosters. We should be having the Trevor Lawrences on the roster. We're a top 5 program all time. So I'm just trying to see.
And I wonder, Malik, it's interesting because I wonder if it's because of, is it a belief that we lead with the run, or it's too much of this stuff? But I'm thinking, if we pride ourselves on protection, pass pro, and even our guys like Kyron Williams who are willing to bust their tail in pass pro on top of leaguers on the offensive line, don't you want to stay clean? Isn't that the name of the game? So you can thrive as a quarterback. So you would think I got to be like, oh yeah, I got these 5 big uglies that are going to keep me clean, and even running backs that are buying in on pass pro. Yeah, I want to go there because I'll have the ability and time to truly shine. I don't know. I'd like to see him go get more guys like you, the Tony Rices, the guys who could really hurt you with their feet and still, oh, by the way, really throw that thing. Like, you're clamoring, Shaun, for a Trevor Lawrence. Man, give me a Lamar. Let's go get a Lamar. Like, let's dream big. Right. That's just, to me, that's where the league's at. Like, give me a guy who's going to hurt you that is a running back and a quarterback. It's both.
Like Kyler. Kyler's killing it right now.
That's what I mean. Somebody's going to pause, all of a sudden, fake a QB draw, fake it, step back, throw that thing. Because you got like, I want to see a guy. You don't even need anybody in the backfield. Like, I want to see play action without a running back, because the play action is this motherfucker going to run right here, or what is going to throw it in empty? That's what I want to see.
You know what? We spin it different right here on the Lucky Lefty podcast. So all year, we've been telling fans, like, yo, you have to be able to watch the game and be able to talk about what you see. Like, stop making excuses. And a lot of Notre Dame fans were upset with our breakdown of Tyler Buchner. Malik was saying, I don't understand as a quarterback how you pull a hamstring, man. Like you flat out running too hard, too rigid. Like, what's up? So when you bring up Lamar Jackson, just the fluid athlete that he is, your first look at Tyler Buchner, you watched him up close. You were there at the Virginia Tech game. Long term, like, how good do you think the young man can be?
He can be good, because right now, I think what he should be relegated to for right now, it's Jack's spot, right? Jack proved it in how he finished Virginia Tech. He did a job at USC. But I think
by the way, before you finish that, kudos to you. on the quiet stunt you did, because you guys actually hosted the show at Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
and EJ and Eddie Royal were talking a lot of trash in the pregame. And once the game was over,
yo, it didn't stop, Shaun. How about Bruce Smith, the legend, the Buffalo Bills legend?
Right.
He legend on the sidelines in my face. I was like, hey, Bruce, you can't get in my face because I can't fight you, man. Like, you'll knock me out. Like, come on, man. Like, it's all love. I grew up watching you. Then when we won the game, I didn't see Bruce anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, you looking for him. Where is he at?
Yeah, right. Crickets, didn't hear him. But yeah, it's for me, Tyler can really focus in on being the guy who gets his number called in the red zone and be efficient, maybe punctuating some of those drives because of what he can do with his feet. Yeah. But again, you know, it's as well as anybody, Malik, your decision making is amplified in the red zone. And you got to leave with points. You can't give the football away. And I do think Tyler gets happy feet sometimes when he has to become a passer. I don't think he's fully confident yet and sound in his decision-making, but the tools are there. I think he can absolutely be a guy. I like his tools more than I like Jack's for long term.
Right.
Jack has been really good for us, more so than I ever thought a Wisconsin transfer would be, because Wisconsin quarterbacks aren't really like guys that go win games. They win with defense and they score 10 points and they steal a win. Right. So I didn't think Jack would be what he has been. But when I look at guys like I'm watching Tyler, I think Tyler has a chance to be something special.
Who's finally going to win this ACC conference, man? Pittsburgh, Wake Forest. I mean,
I think it's going to be Pitt and Wake in a championship. In the Atlantic, it's going to be Wake representing the Atlantic, Pitt representing the Coastal. And I got to go with Pitt. I think Pitt's the best team. I've gone back and forth.
I like Pitt.
It will, man. And it's crazy we're talking about it. I want to give Wake the respect, but I haven't seen them do it like I've seen them.
Yeah, they popped up.
Kenny Pickett, man. Kenny Pickett was a 5th-round draft pick most likely coming into the season. He's the number 1 quarterback on the board, y'all. Yeah. He's the number 1 quarterback.
Yeah.
EJ Manuel texted me the other day. He said that dude coming back might have made himself $35 million in the long term.
In the long term.
I said, I wish there's some place I could come back for $35 million. I'll go anywhere for $35 million.
But that just shows you how crazy the preseason rankings are. I mean, all the guys we had going into the first round top 5 picks are really falling off. And we haven't seen that in a long time, where the predicted picks are nowhere to be found, even for the Heisman.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So the one thing I'll tell you too is
into that playoffs. That's why.
Yeah, right. The one thing I'll tell y'all too is if Sam Howell looks like the quarterback he was projected to be preseason on Saturday, we're in trouble. So we can't have that. Can't have that.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and step in the middle of these two Notre Dame, Ohio dudes. I have to deal with this dude talking about the Bengals every week.
Yeah.
And now I have 2 Cincinnati Bengal fans on the podcast. So how excited are you about Joey franchise and everything that's going on? I mean, to be sitting right there as the number 1 seed, I don't think anybody saw that coming. And the fact that they lost to the Bears.
Look, me too. I saw.
Don't say nobody saw us, Shaun, just because you didn't give us any love.
I had no love for
Fields, man. You Chicago Justin Fields, man.
Well, let me tell it to you like this: top 5 quarterback. Top 5 quarterback, Joe Burrow. Top 5 running back, Joe Mixon. Top 5 receiver, Jamar Chase. Top 5 defense, Bengals defense. To me, that puts you in the top 5 of the NFL. And I think this team is going to be a playoff team. And in the playoffs, anything is possible. But what I love most is they're young. They don't know any better about the history, what we haven't been able to do, the struggles in the postseason. These dudes are just coming out there trying to be great. Joe has swag. Jamar has swag. Joe has swag. How about Uzama at the tight end spot? Swag. I mean, like Hendrickson's all up in dudes' faces talking about, look at the scoreboard in Baltimore. We don't do that in Baltimore. So, like, it's changed. Like, we're new money, so we're loud. Like, because we ain't been here. It's not long money. It's new. But we're enjoying where we're at right now. Now, if we go into New York and we lose to these Jets.
That's the thing about the Bengals. It's definitely viable. It can definitely
but that's us, right, Malik? Like, then we'll get shut out to a team led by Mike.
I agree. I think Joey Burrow is it. he's been proved. I mean, I've never seen a guy catch a break and then run with the hot streak to this day. Should have been rookie of the year if he didn't get hurt. And just his overall performance in the way that usually the Bengals' biggest problem is that they love their people so long they don't want to really change it. They kind of like Pittsburgh. They want to develop talent. It's a family organization. But the new money, like you said, has changed the whole wave of what Cincinnati can be. And people forget that the jungle is just like the 12th man for Texas A&M. It's a tough place to play when they're good. And when Carson Palmer was there, you got some vibes from him. But Joey Burrow is like Carson Palmer 2.0. The city loves him. He's from there. It's good for the city. And Bengal fans are like the poor man's Cowboys fans. But now they gave him the battery in their back with Jamar Chase. Now we're Cowboys.
Yes. Absolutely.
One of the most obnoxious fans in the league, and I love it.
You know you set yourself up, right, bro? You know you set yourself up because you put it in the atmosphere. And if they fall behind the Jets, I can't wait to hear the radio this Sunday. I know your other half has, boy.
I'm leaving. I won't do the show.
That's right.
She's gonna let you have it. I just love the way you guys go back and forth each and every Sunday during the games, man. It's fantastic radio. Once again, we're talking to Jordan Cornett, ESPN Radio, ACC Network. He is the host of the College Football Studio Show right there each and every Saturday. Great cast of guys, Coach Mark Rick, Eric McClain, EJ Manuel. You guys do a fantastic job. Before I let you go, because I know you probably have some son duties coming up. Father duty. So I don't want to get in trouble with the missus.
Yeah, she's over here looking too.
Yeah, I know.
Times are ticking.
So answer this for me. Kings Island or Coney Island?
Yeah.
Oh man, you gotta go Kings, man. It's in my backyard.
That's it. That's exactly it. Kings Island is underrated, one of the top 5 best amusement parks because it's a remote location. It's not like this huge factory. You find a bunch of them, and it's really good rides. It's really good rides.
Yep. Now,
so it's top 5 in the country.
I say all that to say this though: I'm afraid of heights, so I won't ride one damn ride at Kings Island but I still got love for Kings Island. I used to go on dates in like 8th grade.
That's right.
Be like, let's go on this ride, Son of the Beast or whatever. I'd be like, hey, you good? I'll get some popcorn. I'll wait for you once you finish.
That's the smoothest thing we had. And then they had the little water park right there.
The beach. Yeah. And Kings Island had its own too. It was fun.
I'm trying to tell you, that's some hidden gems in Ohio, man. You can't.
Yes, sir.
Hey, so as always, Lucky Lefty Podcast is brought to you by Onora Whiskey. Go to OnoraWhiskey.com for that premium American whiskey. You make sure you send Jordan and Shay some of that premium whiskey, Malik.
Yeah, hey, let's go. I might need it if we're losing them Jets.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You might add a couple to the crib off the
no doubt.
That's what you want, man.
I love it, man. Well, Shaun, Malik, I appreciate y'all having me on, man. Good Notre Dame love, good brothers here, man, and enjoy what you guys are doing. Happy to be on whenever y'all want me.
Hey, we thank you so much for joining us right here on the Lucky Lefty Podcast. When we come back, we'll get into Malik's clean sheet, and he'll give his 3 keys to a dub against North Carolina right here on the Lucky Lefty Podcast.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Lefty. Hey, Lefty, what you say?
Man, welcome back. We thank Jordan Cornett from the ACC Network for joining us, talking some college football, talking some Notre Dame football. As once again, follow him on Twitter at Jordan Cornett. You can listen to him and his wife, Shay Pepler Cornett, each and every Sunday during the football games, the early football games on ESPN Radio. Just look up your local ESPN Radio affiliate, and you can catch him hosting the studio show on the ACC Network for college football. And he'll be doing college basketball as well once that season starts.
Jack all trades.
Yep. Check him out on the ACC Network. It's time for the clean sheet. That's right. Another challenging week for Tommy Rees to see the game plan he should come in with and how creative he should be facing the North Carolina Tar Heels defense. Another defense that's undisciplined, not really as bad as USC as far as tackling, but you can beat them through the air. You can beat them on the ground. You can have it your way. from an offensive standpoint. So what's the clean sheet this week for Tommy Rees?
This week, we're forcing the ball to Kyron Williams. We're going to establish that run game, build on the momentum with that offensive line last week, and be heavy play action. And then we'll see some flashes of some of our guys we love to see, some Braden Lindsey, some Avery Davis. You know, Michael Mayer in that play action is going to get some his opportunities out there. So the biggest key for us is to be able to establish the run through hell or high water. If we get Kyron going in the first half, or second half, we should be able to do anything we want. That's the best way we can play. The team is giving us everything we asking for and more. So we'll be able to get out of this game. It'll be a rough first start, but it's only the Trojan horse to a better second half.
Good to hear that Michael Mayer is even more healthy this week leading into this game, according to head coach Brian Kelly. And we saw a lot more of Michael Mayer and Kevin Austin, both in the slot in the 4-wide receiver set. So that's something to continue to look for. It's hard to defend both of those guys in the middle of the field.
It is. I really think Kevin Austin and Michael Mayer is slotting tight end, and it's just a lot of attention to really open up Braden Lindsey. Avery Davis has the speed to be on the outside. I think it'll be a good switch up to not having him just run down the sideline every play.
And they get more depth at the running back position as Chris Tyree returns his practice. They were going to observe him in practice on Thursday to make sure that he was ready to go 100%. But more than likely, he'll be back on the field. I don't know if he's going to be back in special teams, but he'll be back at the running back position. I believe Lorenzo Styles Jr. will continue to return kicks at least for this week. And we saw the return of Sebo Flemister on last week. So that backfield is getting more depth the deeper we get into the season. All right, you know what time it is. Favorite part of the preview show is Malik's keys to a dub as Notre Dame welcomes in North Carolina. The Tar Heels invade. Come in for another night game. It's going to be litty once again. Give me your 3 keys to a dub. Malik.
3 keys to a dub. Kyron Williams has to be over 150 yards by the end of the game. Second key to the game is how is the secondary going to hold up their end of the thing with explosive plays. If our secondary can limit explosive plays to 5 or less, we have a great chance. And then the last thing is, can we contain Sam Howell? If we can get a good 4 or 5 sacks on him, we'll get the job done. I think this is a defensive game for us to even flex our muscle more. We held a good USC offense to less points than they've averaged all season, and I think we can continue that coming this week.
Same game plan defensively that we saw against USC for UNC?
I think it's something similar, but I think even more heavy focus on the quarterback. They don't have a Drake London necessary that you got to pay a little more attention to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we don't want to lose our identity on defense with being aggressive, and I don't think it changes this week too much.
Hey, what's the key word this week? Tackle, tackle,
yeah.
Tackle.
Tackling open space, secondary tackle. They're going to get out there, secondary tackle. So
Notre Dame has to be effective getting the ball carrier down as soon as they catch it. Limit yak, gimmet, limit rack, whatever you want to call it. After they catch the ball, get them down on the ground, and you should be pretty successful, especially if you get to the 3rd and long. And offensively, stay just as efficient as you were on 3rd and 4th downs last week, 9 of 13. That's bananas from an efficiency standpoint on 3rd and 4th down. If they keep that up, look, this is the game. You know we have a bet. This is the best shot to score 40. I really this is the best shot to score 40. This is it. Because the colder it gets,
some defensive touchdowns.
The colder it gets, well, the best shots are against North Carolina and on the road against Virginia. Yeah, because coming back after that Virginia game in the cold, I know we're not putting up 40. And I know we're not putting up 40 offensively against Navy. We might put up 40 with a little bit of help from the defense and special teams, but against Navy, Nah.
That's a 10-7 game almost, you know.
10. No, you might be going too far. And just so you know, the listeners, we thank you guys so much, Lucky Lefty Nation. Thank you for your continued support. And I appreciate you guys for how you have my back on the slant. Most everybody responded to the slant saying, look, Malik is tripping. We would smash Iowa on a neutral field. Notre Dame fans were on you, bro. They were like, yo, Malik is tripping.
But I don't think we would lose to him. I do think we wouldn't smash him, though. I don't think we would smash him. But,
hey,
you know, whatever.
But most fans would really, you know, a topic like that, most fans would go over the top. Most fans were really honest about how Notre Dame would fare against the top 10. They were like, look here, that top 3 or 4.
We would beat Oklahoma, though. We would beat Oklahoma.
It would be a game.
It'll be a game, but that'd be the top of what I think.
It would be a game. I would be worried about Caleb, though. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm saying out of the other 3, outside of Caleb and Oklahoma, I think we can get with Oklahoma.
Yeah, everybody else.
I don't think we can get with Georgia. Ohio State, I don't think we could last the entire game, but I do think we would give Ohio State some money.
It's so funny because they in a span of like 4 minutes, they swung from like, yeah, Malik, when you talked about how you would smash Michigan on a neutral field.
Yeah, we would smash Michigan.
And then you brought up Iowa, and they were like, come on, bro.
Man, Iowa would be a game. I don't know. It's just something about it.
Hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the preview show. As always, go follow us at Lucky Lefty Pod on Instagram and Twitter. And then subscribe, like, and share this show right here. Let everybody know the best show. We spin it different when we talk about Notre Dame football and college football. Nobody else spins it like us right here on the Lucky Lefty Podcast. Hey, we're going to be honest with you. These late night games, you know, I'm getting home late. I'm at the studio. I'm getting home late because I'm at the studio and my partner. You know what I'm saying? My partner, you know, once the clock hits 00, man, my partner, man, he so we would love to do a live show for you after the game.
We're gonna do a live show, man. I promise, man. We're not gonna fall out on that one, man. We gonna
dude, you know the fans told us we kept pump faking this week.
You know, but it's good to know that they tuning in because they need that dose of reality. You know, that dose of what's really going on underneath the layer of college football.
So when we finally did come on, they were like, all right now.
And we put on the show. So we gonna give you your money's worth, man. Just stay with us, and we gonna do our thing. Man.
We had the Charles Barkley going on.
No more pumping in, I promise.
That's it for this week, man. So Saturday night, we'll see how it goes. See if Notre Dame can shut down Sam Howell and another explosive offense once again. Yo, I put my score over on Irish Breakdown. I got it 31-21. I'm gonna stick with that.
Okay.
I hope they score 40. I hope they score 40, but I'll stick with 31-21.
I got 31-24. That's what I had going into it.
Hey, either way, Notre Dame covers.
That's right.
Yeah, I just don't get that that 3.5, 4. Vegas is on something.
Well, you know,
Vegas is really trying to tempt people in the public to put their money on North Carolina, bro. That 3.5 is real. Well, that 3.5 will suck you in, right?
It would.
That would suck because that can be a late cover. That could be like a late touchdown.
Yeah, right. Nothing matters, really.
Right? Yeah. Man, don't let Vegas get you like that. Don't you all do it?
Straight up.
All right. Lucky Lefty Podcast. We see you guys live for the post-game show sometime after the game and after Brian Kelly speaks to the media on Saturday night, hopefully after another dub. For my guy, Malik Zaire. I am Shaun Davis. This has been a preview show, North Carolina. We'll see you guys Saturday night.
See you.
You're listening to the Lucky Lefty Podcast with Malik Zaire
Never will there ever be another like me. You can play the left, cause it ain't no right in me.
and Shaun Davis.